Hello. These last several times that we've done videos have been around holiday times of the year, and we've tried to focus on those and how to have and share good wines. But I think it's time that we get back more to basics. I'm Dr. Bill,
And I'm Ted.
and we're going to talk a little bit about, is there a difference between tasting and drinking wine? Tasting wine is what you usually see on a lot of the YouTube videos and other media in which experts are talking about all these components of a wine.
They can't agree, so why should you?
Disgusting.
No, that's brilliant. I really like
I
this
hate
wine.
that. I really hate
What are we looking at?
We're looking at this
Disgusting.
really great Rheingau.
Smells of rice pudding.
Yeah, I think it's got something to offer. Summer's day, picnic, salady food.
It's deck chair wine on a
Yeah.
bad day.
And begins to get kind of confusing. But what about tasting? What about tasting versus drinking wine?
Well, and that's kind of what we're going for. I mean, ultimately, wine is about an experience. It's about enjoying it and enjoying everything that goes into, making a great wine. But ultimately, if you really cut down to the, meat and potatoes of the matter, we really only taste, I think, five things, Doc: sweet, sour, bitter, salt, and then what they call a Japanese word umami, which is also means savory. And so, you really kind of have to get through that. But a lot of it goes back to the nose knows. There are literally French perfume testers that over in France that can identify between 3,500 and 5,000 different smells. So, you definitely want to nose a wine. You want to taste it, see how it hits your palate, where it hits. Is it hitting on the acidic parts on the sides of your tongue? Is it really getting a really good mouthfeel? And then is it enjoyable going down? And that's kind of what it's all about. We're not into chug-a-lugging. That might have been something we did maybe when we were in college. We were drinking the Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill or something like that. But that's not what we're really going for, these days. And kind of like we've talked about, moderation, moderation, moderation. If you're drinking and you're chugging, you're not really savoring and enjoying.
Well, what about the scores that you see when you go to your wine shop? You'll see RP scored it a 92 and Wine Spectator scored it a 93. And what do those scores really mean when it comes down to, does a wine taste good?
Well, no, not really. I mean, what they're looking for in those, be it, a Wine Spectator score, which is a big, periodical for wine ratings. There's a guy named Robert Parker that does a lot of, wine ratings. And basically, they're trying to rate a wine for a particular varietal, be it a Cabernet or a Chardonnay or whatever, from a particular region, of what the ultimate of that is supposed to taste like. That doesn't mean that's going to be your particular wine. And don't necessarily buy into what this score says or that score, because a lot of those, sometimes those are kind of speculative and sometimes they're kind of bought. So, and unfortunately it kind of happens. But let your palate be your guide on what you enjoy, and find somebody, it could be Doc and I, to trust as far as to help you guide yourself through your wine drinking experience. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter what somebody else tells you is good, it's what you perceive as good.
Well, when we've done tastings, for example, a lot of people, particularly with the red wines, the heavier red wines, such as Cabernets, say, ooh, that's kind of bitter tasting. It's almost like if I ate a persimmon when I was in grade school. I remember that taste. On the other hand, that's called tannin. And with some of these scores that you see, if there's a significant level of tannin, a lot of times they score those wines higher, but they don't taste as good, particularly when you're just beginning to learn about wine. So the key, like Ted says, is find what tastes good. Look, when you go to your shops, talk to someone and give some advice. You don't have to spend a fortune, but you can spend a little bit and get something pretty nice. But sometimes you can spend a little bit and get something terrible. So ask your clerk and your proprietor, ask friends, tune into what Ted and I were talking about. And I think you'll really enjoy it. As time goes on, you may then begin to appreciate more how these scores are compiled and then get to identify some of these individual nuances that are talked about, like 17 different adjectives for the nose or the aroma of a wine. I just know if it smells good and tastes good usually.
And that's pretty much always your guide. So find somebody you trust, find something you like, and enjoy it. Just enjoy it with moderation. And if you do have too much, what do you do, Doc?
It's the old saying, make sure you've got a designated driver or Uber. But one thing we are going to do today is we want to do a tasting of a wine that's pretty commonly found and a lot of people begin to enjoy. And so we're going to open that and taste it and try to give you a little bit of our take on the quality of the wine. We're going to have a little tasting of a fairly common wine that most people are familiar with, and that's Chardonnay. And I'm going to ask Ted to kind of give you the lowdown on it because he's dealt with these people for many years. Ted?
Well, what we have here is Chateau Saint Michelle Chardonnay, widely distributed, especially in the U.S. Pretty much coast to coast. Walk into any wine shop, grocery store, whatever, pick it up between $10 and $12 a bottle. Great little Columbia Valley. Then this is a Washington State Chardonnay. Washington State has fantastic wines. You get a lot of value, a lot of bang for your buck. And this one is one of the classics of the Washington State, winemaking region. St. Michelle has been producing fantastic wines out there for many, many, many years and do a great job of it. This bottle you should be able to pick up between $10 and $12 a bottle, just about any place you go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through, basically what is involved with tasting a wine. And Chardonnay is kind of what Doc and I decided to do today because it's medium bodied. It is really functional. Great little wine with a lot of different foods, be it chicken, fish, cheeses, even some fruits, things like that. So, first thing you ever want to do on a wine is you want to smell it. Don't smell the cork because the cork's not going to do anything except smell like cork. All right. So remember, nose knows. So first thing you want to do is kind of look at it, look at your color, nice little straw color. If you need to, sometimes it's helpful to have a nice white background. This actually happens to have a nice white label on it. So you can even use the front of the bottle to kind of, basically take a look at what the wine looks like. Nice straw color in there and stuff, but give it a good swirl. All right. Raise it up. You don't want to stick your nose all the way in the glass. Remember, if you're tasting, or you're smelling wines, keep your mouth closed. If you're smelling spirits, open your mouth. All right. But the first thing you're going to smell is some nice kind of Granny Smith apple in there. Nice kind of, fruit up front, bright, cheery, everything you're kind of looking for in a great little nose and stuff. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a little sip. Nice mouthfeel, nice acidity on the sides of the tongue, nice little, back end smoothness, same kind of appley kind of taste in there and stuff. Nice, refreshing. So, Doc, what are you getting?
Well, I'm about the same, particularly looking at the acid. So a lot of the things that you look for, the acid, the fruit component, tannin. I don't get much tannin. I do get the fruit, like you said. I get the acid taste, which means it was harvested from a cooler area and probably harvested just a little bit before it was ripe to maintain that acidity. It's quite nice and has a nice finish, what we call finish or length. So it's a very pleasant wine and one we'd like to share with you.
Absolutely. Try this out. This is a great little medium-bodied Chardonnay if you're just getting started into whites. Whites for the first time in about 30 years have now started outpacing red wines as far as sales here in the United States. Kind of recent kind of thing. But basically, people are kind of getting into, refreshing, light, easy to drink, really functional wines. This is a great little example of that. So pick you up a bottle, get it chilled a little bit, not too cold, but nice and chilled, where you can still taste something in there, but try it out, get you a good friend like Doc, and have you a glass. Cheers.
Cheers.
Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. Let us know.